Welcome, Justice Ginsburg, to ChIPs 2015 Global Summit, and thank you for gracing us with your presence at tonight's VIP dinner. I have to say that when we first received your letter, which simply states, "Dear Ms. Mars Spinola, I would be glad to accept, together with my daughter, a ChIPs award at the October 27th dinner," not only was the ChIPs board ecstatic, but also greatly honored that you would accept our Hall of Fame award. And consistent with your lifetime of achieving firsts, we would like you to know that you and Professor Ginsburg are our first mother and daughter Hall of Famers. Congratulations and welcome.
There were 9 women in my class. There were 500 odd men. The women in my class felt that they were literally on trial. And we felt that all eyes were on us, that if we failed, we would be failing not only for ourselves, but for all women. I had a colleague at Columbia Law School, this is in the 70s, and he said one day he has some regrets about the expanding the enrollment of women. Because he said in the old days, if you wanted a crisp, right answer, you always called on the woman because she was super prepared. She would give you the answer that you wanted and then you could go on with the class. But he said nowadays there's no difference. The women are as unprepared as the men.
You were at the top of your class at Harvard Law Review, top of your class at Columbia Law Review. What was it like then looking for work?
No one was interested. They were reticent. Some of them could overcome the fact that I was a woman, but none of them that I was a mother of a 4-year-old. And the fear was that I wouldn't be able to come in on a weekend, I wouldn't be able to stay late. The result was that I overcompensated and worked harder than any clerk in the court. That's the way it was for women in the 50s. It was getting the first job. That was very hard. When you got the job, you did it very well. Our first effort in the ACLU Women's Rights Project was to try to influence public opinion. The people have to want the change before it's going to be reflected in legislation or in judicial decisions. Then you try to get the legislature to write laws that are family friendly. And the court is really the third audience. People ask me sometimes, when do you think it will be enough? When will there be enough women on the court? And my answer is, when there are 9.
I'm honored to join in congratulating Justice Ginsburg. I'm so proud to continue the work of the ACLU Women's Rights Project, which she co-founded in 1972. During the 1970s, Ginsburg and her colleagues established the law that set the basis for women's rights protection today. She and her colleagues brought constitutional challenges that established women's equality under the 14th Amendment. Ginsburg's first case to reach the Supreme Court, Reed v. Reed, challenged a state law that provided automatic preference for men over women in the administration of estates. In this 1971 landmark ruling, the Supreme Court for the first time held that a law that automatically treated men differently from women violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The following term, in Frontiero v. Richardson, the court struck down an Air Force policy that provided automatic benefits to wives of service members, but required husbands to prove dependency if they were seeking benefits. Then, in the 1975 case of Weinberger versus Weisenfeld, the court invalidated a Social Security law that provided survivors' benefits to widowed mothers but not widower fathers. In these and other cases, Ginsburg was instrumental in dismantling gender stereotypes. She brought challenges to laws that were based on the notion that caretaking is women's work and breadwinning is the work of men. She also went after practices that disadvantaged women because of their pregnancies. And she took on policies that excluded women from certain jobs based on stereotypes about the capabilities and interests of men and women. Today, Justice Ginsburg continues to be a leading voice on the Supreme Court for women's equality and civil rights more broadly. Justice Ginsburg, you've been an inspiration to me and to everyone at the Women's Rights Project and the ACLU more broadly. We're indebted to you and grateful for all that you have done. On behalf of my colleagues, the ACLU, we send our fondest congratulations.
My dear Ruth, I'm sorry. I know you're a justice, but to me you're Ruth. After all, do you realize we have known each other for 60 years? We were introduced when your wonderful husband Marty and I were first-year students at the Harvard Law School. And then 2 years later, you were on the Law Review at Harvard, and I was the articles editor. And you had this little problem. There was baby Janie, your daughter. And in those days, there was no Westlaw. So you actually had to do your law review research in the library. So Janie stayed with Dick Goodwin, the president, and me, the articles editor, and we babysat for Janie. And you've been just a wonderful, wonderful credit to the profession, to academics, to the litigation system, and to the Supreme Court. I wish there were 9 proceduralists on the court, but if there only can be one, I'm glad it's you. Congratulations, Ruth. It's a wonderful honor, one richly deserved.
The only sense in which it is reasonable for me to participate in this honor to Justice Ginsburg for her work in the intellectual property field is that I happen to be her oldest and best friend here on the court. We've been good friends since the time when we were judges together on the Court of Appeals. But I certainly am not one to testify to her abilities in intellectual property because I am no expert in that field myself. In fact, when people ask me what's the most difficult case I've had to decide here on the Supreme Court, I usually say, you don't want to know, it's probably some patent case. I find those cases very difficult. Ruth does not. My judgment is often guided considerably by Ruth's because she has a firm and usually correct grasp of the principles of intellectual property law. I don't know whether she's responsible for Jane's interest in intellectual property or Jane is responsible for hers, but either way, the two of them have certainly had a great impact on the field, Jane being one of the foremost academics on the subject. My congratulations to Ruth and to Jane, and my judgment that the award is richly deserved.
It's a privilege to be part of this tribute to Justice Ginsburg. Normally in a situation like this, we would applaud the honoree for being recognized by the ChIPs Hall of Fame, but I think today it's really more appropriate to congratulate ChIPs that Justice Ginsburg is joining your Hall of Fame. As a law school dean, what I'm most aware of is her commitment to education and her commitment to the next generation. This past spring, she talked to our graduating class, and it was really remarkable to hear her talk to a new generation of students about the challenges that she had faced during her career. I have to say, we've had Supreme Court justices for more than 200 years. I think Justice Ginsburg is the first one who's truly an icon. And at the end of the talk, she was asked for what she wanted to leave people with. And she closed an extraordinary session by telling them that as lawyers, they had the opportunity to make a difference, and they should give back and promote justice in our world. That's the credo that has informed her life. It's transformed our world, and it's going to transform the next generation of Georgetown law students and students across the country who look up to this great icon of the law. So congratulations, ChIPs, and congratulations, Justice Ginsburg.